station focusing on business, economy, and development. With global digital reach, we connect Africa's pulse to the world stage. Welcome to SOUQ News Television, and here we go beyond the headlines, from breaking news, in-depth conversational programs, to market analysis and indices. From policies affecting growth to unique documentaries, from live event coverage to bespoke productions, we deliver content that connects you to the world. At SOUQ News Television, we provide news surrounding business, economy, and development, infomercials and jingles that stand out, short and long-form documentaries crafted to international standards, independent production spaces with full technical support, special coverage for individual and corporate events, a special form of documentaries through our prestige package, Immortals, where we tell your story the way you'd love it, and business support services tailored for small enterprises. SOUQ News TV, powered by FemWatch Limited, also home to the Isle 95.9 FM Lagos and Kasua 99.7 FM Kano, and Emirate News Television Abuja, together forming Africa's trusted media powerhouse. Storytelling, coverage, and connection that matters. SOUQ News TV, your home for business, economy, and development.
Hello and welcome to the Media News on SOUQ News Television. I am Umevi Idolo. Now, President Bola Tinubu has called for faster border processes, reliable local currency settlements, and smoother movement of goods as the real test of Africa's integration efforts. Speaking at the opening of a continent-wide trade cooperation forum, he said Africa must prioritize execution over rhetoric, stressing that fragmented markets cannot achieve industrial scale or withstand global economic shocks. He noted that the African continent free trade area offers major potential, but its success depends on effective implementation that improves the daily operations of traders, manufacturers, and logistics operators. Tinubu outlined Nigeria's ongoing trade-enabling reforms, including modernized ports, unified foreign exchange systems, and digital customs procedures designed to reduce cargo clearance times and improve transparency. He announced that a national single-window platform will launch in phases between 2026, allowing businesses to complete import and export processes through a unified digital portal. With intra-African trade projected to rise and non-oil exports already increasing, he said these structural and digital upgrades demonstrate that predictable systems and coordinated institutions are key to expanding regional trade and strengthening Africa's economic competitiveness. The federal government has announced plans to encourage the creation of Nigeria-owned aircraft leasing companies as part of broader efforts to deepen aviation financing and modernize airline fleets. At a national aviation conference in Lagos, the government said the strengthened legal framework for aviation financing now provides a supportive environment for indigenous leasing firms, which would help airlines access capital more easily for fleet operational expansion. Officials also highlighted ongoing investment in airport modernization, digital systems, and maintenance facilities to reduce reliance on offshore services and retain aviation spending within the country. Government representatives and sector leaders outlined additional development opportunities, including a renewed funding for airport upgrades, the establishment of a regional maintenance hub, and the expansion of cargo and logistics infrastructure to support agricultural and manufactured exports. State governments also presented plans to develop specialized cargo hubs and improve operational reliability at key airports. These initiatives form part of a national strategy to strengthen aviation capacity, attract investment, and position Nigeria as a more competitive regional air transport center. Nigerian states significantly underfunded education and health in 2024, according to new public data showing that states spent only 6,981 naira per person on education and 3,483 naira on health, despite collectively budgeting over 3.7 trillion naira for the two sectors. Implementation maintained below 70%, leaving classrooms, clinics, and essential services under-resourced. No state met global benchmarks for social sector spending, underscoring a deepening gap in human capital investment at a time when millions of children remain out of school and basic health indicators continue to worsen. The report warns that low investment threatens long-term development with poor education outcomes, high infant and maternal mortality rates, and widening inequality. It stressed that stronger budget discipline, predictable spending, and targeted support for critical services are urgently needed. With nearly half of Nigeria's population under 18, stakeholders emphasize that prioritizing children's education and healthcare is essential to building a productive workforce and supporting inclusive economic growth. Britain has increased its deposit protection limit to £120,000, a 40% rise aimed at safeguarding savers against potential bank failures. The adjustment announced by the country's financial regulators reflects the impact of prolonged inflation and is designed to reinforce public trust in the stability of the financial system. The previous gap of £85,000 had remained unchanged since 2017. Authorities also raised the ceiling for temporary high balances to £1,400,000, ensuring stronger coverage for households managing large one-off transactions such as home sales. These measures are part of a broader effort to modernize consumer protection standards and align the United Kingdom's financial safety net with evolving economic conditions, while maintaining competitiveness with global deposit insurance benchmarks. The United States dollars reached a new 9-month high against the yen as investors reacted to concerns over Japan's expanding fiscal plans and awaited key labor data from the United States. Market statements shaped by expectations that the United States may introduce another interstate rate cut soon, while Japan's policymakers remained divided over the pace of monetary tightening. The cautious tone across global markets, especially in technology-heavy sectors, further depends demand for the dollar as a safe haven currency. Japan's currency later recovered slightly, even as analysts warned that additional fiscal spending could heighten debt concerns and put renewed pressure on the yen. Investors also highlighted the possibility of foreign exchange intervention should volatility worsen. Meanwhile, other major currencies, including the euro and the Australian dollar, saw marginal movement as traders assessed monetary policy updates and economic signals across all regions. That's it on the news. Thanks for watching. Please do well to follow us on all our social media platforms at SOUQ News TV. I am Umevi Idolo. Coming up shortly is Just Africa. Stay with us.
At the Africa Development Study Center, ADSC, We are committed to driving sustainable growth and development across Africa through innovative training and research. Our mission: empowering leaders, policymakers, and professionals with the tools they need to create lasting change. With customized training, dynamic research programs, and study exchanges on leadership, management, and other critical development topics, ADSC offers a platform for exchanging cutting-edge ideas and global best practices. We provide comprehensive services in research and consultancy, capacity building and training, education programs, publishing and knowledge sharing. Our esteemed faculty, composed of seasoned experts and researchers, ensures a learning experience that is insightful and practical. We specialize in policy development, implementation strategies, and monitoring and evaluation. At ADSC, learning is engaging and enjoyable. Our unique methodology includes talks, interactive exercises, games, video screenings, and lively seminar discussions, all in a comfortable and friendly environment. For more information, email us at info@adstudiescenter.com or call +234 912 039 2362. Visit our website www.adstudiescenter.com to explore our programs and upcoming events. Africa Development Studies Center, rethinking development for Africa.
Optimism is a strategy for making a better future, because unless you believe that the future can be better, you are unlikely to step up and take responsibility for making it so. Responsibility is the price of greatness. How else can one explain the thought process of a 24-year-old youth leaving the luxurious comforts in the United States to fill in for his incarcerated father in sub-Saharan Africa, Nigeria, and run a family business holding the fort till stability was achieved? This is the story of Abdul Samad Rabiu, an unassuming, silent achiever. Samad Rabiu attended Capital University, Columbus, Ohio, and returned to Nigeria to oversee the family business when his father, SOUQ Rabiu, was detained by the administration of General Muhammadu Buhari for allegedly not paying the rice report duties. Not only was his father under investigation, the family business was under scrutiny. These harsh realities of being thrust right into the middle of it all shaped the young man's resolve to hard work in silence. Abdul Samad Rabiu is the son of one of Nigeria's foremost industrialists, late Khalifa SOUQ Rabiu, founder of SOUQ Rabiu and Sons Group, the family-operated holding company with a history of investment in manufacturing, insurance, banking, and real estate. In the 1970s, the group invested in manufacturing, with its first investment being the Kano Suits and Packaging Cases Company, a factory producing suitcases and handbags. In 1972, the Bagauda Textile Mill, manufacturing woven clothes for uniforms, importing and trading in different segments of the economy, including frozen food service, sugar, and a motor vehicle and parts distribution company specialized in Daihatsu products. Abdul Samad Rabiu was born with a very big silver spoon in the ancient city of Kano on the 4th day of August in 1960, 57 days to Nigerian independence. 24 years later, responsibility beckoned. he was in the family business till 1988. Abdul Samad Rabiu, following in the steps of the family business, established BUA Bois International Limited in 1988. Solely for commodity trading, Bois International Limited imported rice, edible oil, flour, iron, and steel. The much-needed wins to his sale came in 1990. The government, owners of the Dettol Steel Company, got into a contract with Bois to supply its raw materials in exchange for finished products. This was the young company's much-needed windfall. Bois expanded further into steel, producing pellets, importing iron ore, and constructing multiple rolling mills in Nigeria. Nigerian Oil Mills Limited, the largest edible oil processing company in Nigeria, was sadly bought by Bois in 2005. Bois started 2 flour milling plants in Lagos and in Kano. By 2008, Bois had broken an 8-year monopoly in the Nigerian sugar industry by commissioning the second largest sugar refinery in sub-Saharan Africa. In 2009, the company went on to silently acquire a controlling stake in a publicly listed cement company in northern Nigeria, Sokoto Cement, and began to construct a $900 million cement plant in Ogu-Ogbela, Edo State, completed and commissioned in 2015, which is at that time the single largest non-oil investment in South Nigeria, and had a capacity of 6 million metric tons per annum upon completion of the second line. This was followed by a new 1.5 million metric tons line in Sokoto in 2018 and another 3 million metric ton line, which commenced in 2020 and was commissioned in 2022, bringing the total installed capacity for his cement holdings to 11 million metric tons as of January 2022. Abdul Samad Rabiu is very entrenched with his family in business, having over 40 siblings. His younger brother, Rabiu Ishaku Rabiu, was the CEO of IRS Airlines Limited, an airline based in Abuja, Nigeria. He operates scheduled domestic passenger services. Its main base was Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport. The airline was established in 2002 and started operations in March 2002 and ceased operations in 2013. Kabiru Rabiu, our younger brother, currently serves as the Group Executive Director of Bois Group. In 2020, Kabiru was named the Best African Economic Leader under the age of 40 in the 100 African Economic Leaders for Tomorrow Awards by the French Institute, SOUQ. Bois invested $300 million in the 20,000 hectares Lafiaji Sugar Estate project, which comprises a sugar mill, sugar refinery, ethanol processing plant, and 35 megawatts power plant. The company also built an export-focused refinery in Port Harcourt, the only destination sugar refinery in sub-Saharan Africa. Abdul Samad Rabiu is constructing a 200,000 barrels per day petrochemicals refinery in Akwa Ibom State, Nigeria. The agreement was signed with Access of France in August 2020 for the refinery aimed at serving Nigeria and the West African petroleum refining needs. It is expected to be completed and operational by 2025. The privately owned Ogu-Ogbela Cement Company was in January 2020 merged with the publicly listed Cement Company of Northern Nigeria, where Abdul Samad Rabiu already held a controlling stake in the $3.3 billion transaction, and BUA Cement PLC was born. Abdul Samad consolidated all his food businesses in sugar, edible oils, rice, flour, and pasta milling into a new company, Bois Foods PLC. In December 2021, it was listed on the Nigerian exchange. Bois Foods emerged as a consumer goods leader in market capitalization, experiencing a phenomenal 206% year-to-date appreciation. Share prices soared from 65 naira per share in December 2022 to the current value of 379.9 naira per share as at 24th March 2024. In terms of fundamentals, Bois Foods exhibited robust financials with a 54% increase in profits to 105.6 billion naira in the first 9 months of 2023.
very good afternoon to you and welcome to Just Africa. Now, this is the program where we explore the ideas, the trends, and innovation shaping the continent and the future. Today, we dive deep into the subject that sits at the heart of modern society, the future of African news, innovation, and audience trust. Across the continent, newsrooms are changing, new technologies are changing, how stories are told, how audience is engaged, and how truth is protected. But as innovation accelerates, so does the challenge of earning and keeping the trust of audiences who demand accuracy, transparency, and relevance. Today, we unpack where African media is heading, what is shifting, and what it all means for businesses, for the economy, and for development. Welcome once again to the program. I am Oyimpriye Kromale. Hello, good afternoon to you, Lumide.
Good afternoon. Welcome to Just Africa. I am Olumide Shogoya. So glad to be here.
Yes. So we are talking about innovation news. And whenever this comes to the fore, it looks as if the media is being put to the test. What came to your mind when you saw this?
Well, the media is being put to test always. The media has always been put to test. Now that we have social media, we have so many things, it has given room for a whole lot of unprofessionalism, if you might call it, because fake news is all over social media. So one has to even be careful the kind of news you even pick from social media. So I'm always very, very, very careful. When I see certain news publications, I check this, the publisher, the person who posted it, and all that. I try to verify and check all the verifiable news agencies to see whether they have actually posted the same news. So, you know, we live in a world whereby you just have to be careful. Then, for the media organizations, for media practitioners, you are held in the highest esteem. So you have to, because you are also a voice of authority, you have to gatekeep, you have to be sure, you have to make sure that whatever you're churning out is accurate and efficient.
Great. Now, let's intimate you a little bit further concerning what we will be talking about today. The future of African news, innovation and audience trust explores how news organizations across Africa are adapting to digital tools, new storytelling formats, and data-driven models, while also confronting misinformation, fragmented audiences, and declining trust in traditional media. We look at two major questions. How will technology reshape the news ecosystem, and how can media outlets build and maintain public trust in a fast-changing information environment? This topic highlights the intersection between innovation and credibility, qualities that will determine which media institutions thrive in the future. Now, before we jump into the program itself, let's go on a break. We have a very prominent guest who is waiting and standing by to give you and to expound, look at the scope and all it entails concerning our topic of conversation this afternoon. Stay with us. Welcome back. Many thanks for joining us on the program. Now, joining us on the program, Just Africa, today is Temitayo Akinyemi. He's a respected digital media strategist and innovation specialist whose work spans some of Africa's most influential digital platforms, including Hume Angle, Tech Cabal, and Zikoko Citizen. He focuses on audience engagement, multimedia storytelling, and the integration of technology in modern newsroom. With extensive experience building digital communities and helping media organizations adapt to rapidly changing consumption patterns, Temitayo is widely regarded as one of the leading voices shaping the future of African journalism and information strategy. Temitayo Akinyemi, welcome to Just Africa.
Good afternoon, and thank you very much for having me today. It's quite an honor and a pleasure to be on the program with you this afternoon. Thank you.
You're very much welcome, Temitayo. I'm delighted to have you on the program Just Africa today. Now, quickly, let me jump into my first question. When you look across African media landscape today, what innovations do you believe are truly transforming the news landscape, and how is it producing, how is it being consumed by the news consumption or consuming audience?
Thank you very much. To contextualize the question for for audiences at home and for anyone else who might be interested in what is going on the African continent in our newsrooms. I think we can't discuss how news behaviors are changing without considering new technologies such as artificial intelligence, and more specifically, generative artificial intelligence through tools like ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, and the likes. Speaking strictly to news, because people's behavior on the internet when they are looking for information has changed significantly. So in the past, we've had something where people are looking for people search, and when they search, they are looking for answers. But search is the first step towards looking for information. Nowadays, people are looking for things that are much more personalized. They are looking for things that are fast, and they're looking for things that they can trust all the time. Which has then created its own challenges for African newsrooms across the different regions of the continent. Specifically in Nigeria, we are seeing newsrooms that are building tools such as Nimi AI by newsrooms like Women Radio. We are seeing tools like I know Premium Times launched a tool to help journalists transcribe a lot of their interviews. Data Fighters, their version of contextualizing news and information for journalists and for users. There are lots of work basically across the continent trying to help people find information that is fast, trustworthy, and is personalized to their taste. However, because the level of literacy across the continent with regards to these tools are still quite low, we have an unusually, well, I wouldn't say unusually, we have a high level of distrust for these tools because there's a high level of distrust for news media generally on the continent and specifically in Nigeria. So I think for us on the continent, we have to solve things that we have to create faster avenue for us to resolve the trust deficit and to also ensure that we build tools as fast as possible that can solve those three core areas, which is fixing trust, personalization for the users, and speed and accuracy for the user. Thank you.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much. Now, let me take your mind back a little bit. During the era where the conventional means of getting news, things that are very, very quite different from what obtains today, like the social media and some of the tools that you mentioned, it didn't look like the audience's trust and some form of credibility was declining. But why is it that when we have all these advantages that technology has provided us, it now seems as if audiences' trust is declining, and we are trying to convince, in fact, the government had to set up specific agencies and sometimes make policies or rules to check false information or fake news. What changed from the times before and from today where we seem to have all the advantages?
It's interesting that you mention government and government efforts, which I do not take for granted. But I think in Nigeria's news media history, one of the strongest reasons for people's distrust in news generally has also been from political actors, which are people in government. Nigeria's political class have been very deliberate with ensuring that journalism is underfunded, and those who get funding from the national government through the Nigerian Television Authority or the Federal Radio Corporation of Nigeria, the kinds of stories that they do are stories that are mostly about propaganda And all of these things over time start to erode trust with people who start to think of journalism or news media as merely a speaker, a megaphone for government propaganda. And when you look at news media organizations like Next, 234 that have existed in the past, and why those organizations have gone underground, you start to see traces of how they do important stories that Nigerians should know about, and government is displeased about those situations. Therefore, there, there, we, there are no direct evidence to show that the government has said if a partner with this organization should take your money away from them. But what has happened is that when government is displeased, they make it clear, and people who want to do business with the government try to avoid these organizations, thereby reducing revenue streams for these organizations. And as those things continue, we get to Nigeria has gotten to a point where media organizations can't fund talent, can't retain talent, can't keep them around, and if you can't keep serious talent around, your editorial standards are also significantly diminishing on a daily basis. And when you don't have people who can fix those gaps, who can ensure that the ship is not leaking every day, you then get to a position where misinformation is flying everywhere, propaganda is flying everywhere, and the journalists who should be doing hard work and who are always doing hard work to ensure that those things are being ebbed, they don't have enough resources, they don't have enough support. Many journalists go months without being paid. Well, not my personal experience, but colleagues in the industry go months without being paid, and it's not because they work with hardless or soulless providers, but the economy is terrible, and news media in particular is being underfunded deliberately so as to put it in a situation where speaking the truth becomes almost impossible, and doing high quality editorial work become really, really difficult for journalists to achieve without having to acquiesce to the demands of the political actors of the day. So if people are complaining that journalism is not, there is no trust in journalism, it's not because journalists have gone to bed or that they no longer care about doing what is true and what is right. It's because the media space has been terribly underfunded over time, and the quality of thinking, the quality of people, the quality of personnel in the space has significantly reduced to the point where we don't have the required talents, required resources to do the best kind of work, and people continue to see only the worst kinds of work or the average kind of work that people are managing to produce through limited resources, and think, oh, there's no reason to trust them. So this is more of economic and political action, and less about journalists not wanting to, build trust with the audiences. And it's also less about newspaper to digital, transformation, and more about how people continue to perceive the news and how they have perceived the news over the past 20 years.
All right, thank you very much for that. So you mentioned something. Lack of trust in the public audience. And these days, basically, credible news has turned gold. You have to even be sure of the news agencies that is churning out this news. You have to verify, you have to check other news agencies to see if what they are churning out is correlating with what this order or where you got the news from. So my first question is, what are the challenges a newsroom may face, in maintaining credibility, and what are the steps to take? What are the steps for media organizations? What steps can they take in maintaining credibility in their news?
So I would approach this from two perspectives. The first one is, I would say that structurally, newsrooms can balance speed and accuracy and trust building by adopting a wide range of verification checklists, building rapid response fact-checking teams, which we've seen lots of newsrooms do. We have newsrooms like Dubawa that are committed to ensuring that these sort of things happen, although we don't have them uh, at a regional, state, or local level, which would be the most effective way, again, because of lack of funding. But um, yeah, there's also the need to prioritize transparency about what is known and what is unknown. There's a saying that when someone says no comment in news, it's also a comment. We need to be able to tell people all of the things that we know, as well as all of the things that we do not know, and to also keep people engaged and familiar with our procedure. I think before I go to the next part, I would like to mention that one of the significant changes that we've seen in news over time is that in the past, news journalists are people that people go to for the truth, but a lot of that has changed because of the internet, and people don't just come to you for the truth; people come to you for verification, and you're no longer just the person who has all of the information. People are mostly coming to news media organization to sometimes to check their biases, sometimes to check that the thing that they believe to be true is actually really true. And that is why it's really, really essential at this time that journalists, especially those who are working on fact checking, are building very good relationship with their audiences, and do not just think of themselves as experts in truth, but as partners in disseminating and finding what is true and what should be going viral across different spaces. And I think in terms of the form which I believe that news should be taking because of the audience changes and audience behaviors that we are seeing, I think it's useful to create more concise explainers, contextualized content, and it's very, very essential that we start to do more media literacy touch points that can help younger audiences engage responsibly without sacrificing the accuracy that we want to be known for. Again, like the core things that are shaping news today are the speed of the news, the accuracy of the news, the personalization of the news. People are looking for answers, and they're looking for answers fast. And we need to be able to create a lot of those things for the audiences in ways that they can consume, not just in ways that we have known to, produce news. Yes, people still read newspaper, but it's not as great as it used to be. People spend a lot of time on WhatsApp, people spend time on Snapchat, people spend time on Reddit, on Instagram, on TikTok. We need to be able to produce news to and for people on those platforms where they spend time, and to ensure that we are not speaking just our language, but we are speaking the language of the audience, in order to build trust with them and to always let them know that they can rely on us for truth seeking at every part of their truth seeking journey. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Temitaya. You mentioned something very beautiful, fact checking. So, what technology or tools can media organizations adapt to improve accuracy, fact checking, audience engagement?
So I have mentioned earlier in the segment how there are a couple of news media organizations in Nigeria that are building different artificial intelligence tools to help people fact check and find news faster. Again, I know that Premium Times have one of those tools. There's an organization known as Fact Check Africa that has built a tool for, I think their website should be factcheckafrica.org, if I am remembering correctly. They've built a tool for a multi-language tool where you insert a query and then you can get it back. You can ask a question like, what is President Tinubu fit for purpose, or is Wike still the minister of the Federal Capital Territory? And you're going to get like instant responses. A lot of these newsrooms are trying very hard to build tools, and a lot of other organizations in news adjacent organizations are building these tools. I think the thing that needs to change the most is not just ensuring that we build tools, it's ensuring that we build trust. And that part is very difficult because it means that for a lot of news media organizations that are looking at their financial runway and thinking, how do we keep the lights on 6 months from now? It's hard for them to start thinking also very hard about trying to appeal to their audiences in ways that news organizations have not done in the past. However, I would like to mention that those things have to happen. If you want to keep your light on, you need to do those difficult work, and it's why I advocate for newsrooms to start having digital product managers within their ranks to help them look at their data, to help them understand the audiences better and faster, so that the tools that they are building are not just tools because the editor-in-chief has gone to a conference and learned that someone is building a tool, but they are building tools that are very useful to the audiences that they are catering to. There are lots of organizations that spend time with their audiences on Twitter. If you are building a tool for your Twitter dominated audience, or X as it is called these days, and you are building a web tool that they might not visit, then you're not building a tool for your audience. If you are a newsletter first platform and you are building an Instagram first tool, it will fail because it is not going to work with your audience. So it's really about finding and hiring the right kinds of people to do the kind of work that allow newsrooms to find the best ways to build trust with the audience and build products that build trust with the audience.
All right, thank you very much, Temitayo. Now, earlier on, you also mentioned funding, that most of these media agencies are underfunded. And I remember a particular news agency, I think it was SOUQ Reporters, said that most of their donations come from public donations. And we've seen these days that some political interest, some personal interest set up these media organizations to sway certain news to move in their own interest. So how can a media organization stay afloat if it's going to achieve credibility, accuracy, efficiency, and still maintain what I call it proper funding?
So I would like to mention that we can't really move faster than the economy that we exist in. The news media business does not exist in a vacuum. We exist within a larger Nigerian economy, and we are existing in an economy where millions of people can barely afford food, and it's almost impossible to convince the millions of people who can't afford food for their families that the next priority for them is to give money to newsrooms because they want the truth, they don't want the lie. If we remove ourselves from the bubble of our literate or well-informed friends, we'll realize that a lot of people only listen to the news wherever they are privileged to listen to it, maybe on radio while they're going to work, or at newspaper stands. They don't wake up in the morning and say, "Oh, what are the top headlines?" because they do not have the luxury of time to do those things. However, in the past few years, we have seen a lot of things that are happening for news media organizations in Nigeria. We've seen people test out subscription models. We've seen membership models. We've seen people build niche products and sell them. We've seen people make a lot of money from events, and this is much more common with people who do podcasting. We've seen in real life events. We've also seen like lots of strategic brand partnerships where newsrooms are doing maybe stories on financial education for people, and we have neobanks, fund some of those products and the projects. It's still early days for us, and again, the larger economy is quite challenging. But I know that a lot of news media organizations are trying a lot of things. They are trying subscription models. They are trying donation models. They are trying to do bundling, subscription bundling, where you pay for one thing and then you get a couple of other things. But again, it's really hard to convince people to give you money for news. I know because it's something that I've had to do over the past couple of years. When people can't can't eat. When I was growing up in Ibadan in southwest Nigeria, I used to know about lots of businesses in the city, especially within the popular cocoa house, because a lot of those businesses were thriving enough for them to go on radio and pay for ad slots. And even advertisement in news media organizations have reduced significantly. Ad revenue have dropped because businesses are not thriving and booming as they used to be. And therefore, if you don't have a business, or if you're small to media enterprises are not growing, there aren't enough people, taking money to news media organizations for adverts, and these things start to put media organizations in positions where they are vulnerable to, to the whims and caprices of political actors, which is where we then start having situations where something happens, but news organizations can't cover it because covering that story means that someone somewhere is angry at them and they can't produce. They won't be able to pay salaries at the end of the month, so they have to be measured. News media organizations, apart from following the ethics of journalism, should not be measured about telling the truth. We should be able to tell the truth all the time. But we are in this situation where the economy is quite challenging. However, as I've mentioned, there are lots of news media organizations that are doing incredible work. We have the likes of the SOUQ, we have the Republic magazine, which at the Republic magazine they sell magazines for starters. They sell subscriptions. They sell lots of merchandise as alternative sources of revenue. We have Business Day that is one of the news media organizations in Nigeria that have been able to do some experiments around people paying and subscribing for news. So there are lots of those things going on. It's just that for this to work, we need the economy to work. And once the economy works, we will realize that a lot of people in the space are doing a lot of work that just need more funding. And if we can get more people, by people I mean local communities, the news consumers, to be able to pay for the news that they want themselves, it would make a lot of things easier for people, and it would be able to help news consumers also get better personalized news. If you live in a local community, you can get newsletters, you can get newsletters in your language, you can get audio information in your language, because someone somewhere is going to fill the gap. But until Nigeria and I dare say like the African continent, until we're able to raise what is our per capita income, until we're able to raise people's ability to be able to buy food and have some money left for things that improve their lives, we might continue to have a struggling news economy, because grants are good, grants are nice for us to have, and grants have been really helpful for developing the sector, but we can't always rely on the goodness and kindness of other people to do things that are essential for the growth of our country and our economies.
Okay. Thank you very much, Temitoye Akinyemi. Your submissions have been quite robust. It shows the fact that you have really gone through the SOUQ and the tech cabal and the other platform you mentioned. But let's take this conversation a little further. My colleague actually took the words out of my mouth when we were talking about funding and how these news organizations can, maintain sustainability. I was just briefly looking at how the BBC, one of the biggest television network across the country, across the world, in the United States and Britain, how they sponsor their activities and manage to stay afloat to the extent that sometimes some big television organization like the BBC had to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to carry out investigative journalist activities that can last for 2 years, uncover the truth, then break the story. And indeed, it becomes a breaking story, not stories. They don't engage in stories like the Yellow Pages and all of that. So some of these news organizations have been said that they have diversified their funds of investment. They go into real estate. Some of them go into banking. Some of them are even quoted in the stock exchange. We don't see Nigerian or African television stations or news organization goes this direction, the BBC is said to be funded by, there's this annual payment that those who, they buy the television license there in BBC in the UK. So why can't African news stations, copy this directive? Or is it the same, does it go the same way with the submission you've made, like the economic environment, or is there something new that we should know?
So I think we need to be a little bit more considerate towards, again, like our economy is going through a lot and people are having to pay dearly for it. But we also need to be much more considerate towards ourselves. Britain operates within a framework of countries and territories that have existed for hundreds of years, much more longer than the territories that became Nigeria have existed for. There are lots of challenges that we are facing today that Britain faced 100 years ago, and there are phases of the development and growth cycle in economies that we just can't avoid. We have to go through them. It's unfortunate that we are not going through these phases at a faster pace, as we've seen in countries like Singapore. But again, we have to go through all of these challenges. And to bring it back to the BBC, yes, truly, people pay for licenses. It's kind of like a subscription model for citizens. It's something that comes out of it's akin to a taxation for people on to pay for the truth every year. And yeah, people tend to pay a lot of that. Yes, people tend to do a lot of that in the UK. But again, like, what would be Nigeria's equivalent of the BBC ideally should be the Nigerian Television Authority,
Yes.
and a network of radios through the Federal Radio Corporation of Nigeria. But when you look at how Nigeria operates or runs the NTA, it's hard to think of NTA as anything other than a propaganda machine for the federal government or the states in which NTA exists for those state governments, because NTA does not have the kind of independence that the BBC has over the years had to grow. It's going to take us some time for us to get there. We need to be able to advocate for the NTA's budget to be independent of the executive, government's whims and caprices. We need to be able to create the kind of structure that allows NTA to do a story about a sitting president, and the DG of NTA will not, lose their job, or the journalist who is working on the story do not lose their jobs because of it. Again, like, we still have years, centuries of catching up to do. However, because we have lots of catching up to do, does not mean that we can't, innovate our way through some of these challenges. It's just really dicey to think about some of those things in the context of Nigeria's economy. There are lots of news products that people are building, tech-enabled products, in the same way that we've seen in the financial sector. We've seen fintech organizations grow out of thin air to solve some of our recurrent problems. The difference between fintech and news is that in those other sectors, in those other technology-enabled sectors, in finance, in aviation, and the likes, the revenue is almost instantaneous. If you don't make your money, you die. Somebody else takes the space. News is a service that we can't afford to not have all the time, and news is not really a profit-making business. Even like the organizations that I would say are profit-making news entities, it takes them decades to get to a point where they can say they've broken even because of making profit. So it's a much more long-term, high-stake, low-reward market compared to the other markets that have been technologically enhanced, and situations like that therefore need a lot of long-term investment, which we do not currently have. And hopefully, as we continue to tweak all of the products and machineries that we are using in the space, we can create more lasting solutions. And again, like the more money that people can have, the more money that people can put into solving problems. But we can't say that because people in Benue State, for instance, who are facing insecurity challenges, because they are now, a lot of people are being displaced from their homes. We can't say that because of that they should not get the news, you know. So it's a lot of investments, it's a service industry where you might put a lot of money, you might not even get the reward until like 20, 30 years later. So we need more money, we need more financial investment in the news, we need more long-term investments in the news, and a lot of that is going to be possible when it starts from the top, where the economy is better, when it starts from the top, where the National Television Authority is independent of the current governors and presidents and administrators, and that can trickle down into how we do stories across the country. NTA used to be a carrier that covered local news across the different NTA, divisions in the country. But again, we have a long journey, and we are not exhausted of walking that journey, and we are going to walk it together and hopefully get to a point where we can start to become a much more profitable industry, where we can now start divesting our investment and thinking about real estate investment, thinking about putting some money in the Nigerian stock exchange and the likes.
Yes. Thank you very much. Now, Temitayo Akinyemi, we are not done with you yet. We just want to go on a short break. Then we'll be back to continue this conversation. Please do hang in there. We're back in a moment. Do stay with us.
Hello Nigeria, hello Africa. Yeah, this is Sound Man. Keep watching SOUQ News.
My name is Babalola from Excel LED. Keep watching SOUQ News.
My name is Shepherd Michael Adewale Onofuye. I enjoy you all to always watch SOUQ News TV.
Hi, I'm Tom Boggaballs, and please keep watching SOUQ News.
Wale Seriki, SLG Lagos Island East, SOUQ News, keep out watching them and keep a lookout for them. They're up and coming, and we're proudly to be affiliated with them.
You alone where they make me go crazy. This your love in the cool of my brain. You're my medicine, I need you all day. Yo, it's Blackface Nigeria, and you're watching SOUQ News TV. Keep it locked on this dial, don't change it. You know what I say? Blackface Nigeria, love on the bad.
Fellow Nigerians, did you know that constituency and executive projects in your communities are not gifts from your legislators? They are projects sponsored by the legislators and funded by the federal government to improve your life and the lives of those around you. These projects belong to you. Without your vigilance, they might never be completed. Don't allow them to fade away into unfulfilled promises. Stand up, take ownership, monitor their progress, demand accountability, and report concerns to ICPC. Call our toll-free line now on 0800-2255-4272 or WhatsApp only on 0806-656-4726. This message is brought to you by the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, ICPC, with support from MacArthur Foundation and the Center for Democracy and Development in Africa, CDD.
Anthony Onyemaechi Elumelu was born on the 22nd of March 1963 in Jos, North Central Nigeria, to Susanna and Dominic Elumelu, originally from Delta State. Tony earned a degree in economics from Ambrose Ali University, where he laid the foundation for his future career, and then furthered his education at the University of Lagos, where he obtained a master's degree in economics. His academic journey also includes attending the Harvard Business School, where he completed the Owner of President Management program, equipping him with advanced business management skills. Tony currently serves as the chairman of Heirs Holdings, Transcorp, and United Bank for Africa, UBA, demonstrating his significant influence in the banking and investment sector. He founded the Tony Elumelu Foundation, which aims to empower African entrepreneurs through comprehensive training, mentorship,